Warning. This podcast is solely based on smut books. The definition of smut is a story that includes one or more sexually explicit scenes. This is a warning for all listeners to proceed with caution. There will be explicit content, sex talk, and triggering subjects. We will provide a trigger warning before each episode. This podcast is not intended for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised. I'm Tisha.
And I'm Corey, and welcome back to our podcast.
Okay, so I just want to say I'm fucking proud of today. No equipment issues, knock on wood.
I knocked really hard after I said it, so I was hoping I didn't jinx us.
Like, holy shit.
We're doing good.
This is going to be great if this is how it is every time.
Let's just pray, keep our fingers and toes crossed that this is how it goes beautifully.
Pray to the smut gods.
Yes, that's our thing now, smut gods. Let's do it.
We are the smut gods. Just kidding. No, we're not. There's people out there that are way better. Hashtag fit teacher Rachel.
She is, I love her.
Oh my god, I love her too. Like, I aspire to be her, getting all the arcs and how many fucking books she reads. I'm like, girl, you're fit, a teacher, and Rachel, and
everything else in between. She was talking about how the books have like brought her out from a depression, which is an amazing thing.
We can relate to that
100%. And how it improved her and her husband's relationship. And she said this like probably, I think sometime last year. She said it multiple times, but when I saw it, it was sometime last year. And then she ends up pregnant. I'm like, oh,
there you go.
Yep.
That's something that I kind of want to talk about though, now that you've mentioned it.
Okay.
I want to know if reading smut improves people's sex lives. I personally think it improved mine.
I think it did mine too.
It's crazy, like, what you discover reading these books.
Because it's something, these books bring out so many different things that you didn't even know. I had no fucking idea what a praise kink was, what a degradation kink was.
Nope.
Or in general, what it, I think BDSM was as far as my knowledge went. And
hashtag 50 Shades.
Whoop whoop. Start of it all right there. Yeah, I just think for me personally, with being a woman, I'm not obviously women aren't just walking around like, God, I'm fucking horny. Sometimes you can, but like when you read the books, it turns you on because you're inside the character's mind. You are that character.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh my God.
And that helps with your libido, like, a ton, because I'm not going to just be like, man, I'm really horny all of a sudden. But when I'm reading, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's stimulating your mind to where you're like, okay. And then if you have a partner, it makes it that much better.
Yeah.
Because then you can just be like, okay, let's go.
Let's try this. Let's try this. Let's try this. I think I like this.
Would you choke me?
Yes, daddy.
I'm not that far with my daddy kink. I'm still...
We struggled with the daddy kink at first. But then we started reading, and, like, we're kind of coming around to it.
Oh, it's growing on me. Like, I personally don't think I would ever be like, fuck me, daddy. Like,
no.
I don't know. That to me is weird. But when somebody's like, daddy something in the book or something like that, I'm like, okay.
Daddy Cass.
Or Daddy Zaid. Oh my God, Daddy Zaid. Oh, yeah. I loved that. Grew on me, for sure. Sure.
I'm kind of right there with you.
I'm glad, because I'm like, please don't leave me alone in this one, because I need to talk about this.
I never thought I'd come around to it, but here we are.
Me either. I thought that for sure was going to be like a dead end for me. And now I'm like, okay. But like, I don't know if I would say it's still one of my top kinks, like how people ask for recommendations with specific kinks or this or that. I don't know I'm that far.
Yeah.
But
I do want to read Your Dad Will Do.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's going to be one of my next. I need to actually stop reading new books.
Yeah, you need to give me a second to catch up, because I got stuck in a series and now I'm like, fuck, hurry up.
It's a good ass series, though.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I don't know.
So today, if you couldn't tell, we are going to be reviewing Praise by Sara Cate.
Oh, this book, dude. I have to say, before we get into this book, it embarrassed me.
Yeah?
Yes. There were a few times I had to stop reading because I legit was just like, I am not that person that would never act the way she did. And so I was like, okay, take a minute, because I was getting schoolgirl, like a 16-year-old flustered. Yes, and I couldn't read it. I was so embarrassed, like, oh my God. And I felt alone because I asked you if you felt it when you were reading it, and you didn't really.
No, I was like, fuck yes. I found out a new thing about myself from this book. Can I just tell the story though?
Yes, go ahead. Do it. Do it.
So we were at work. I work in the back office of a dental office. Corey works in the front office. And I was cleaning out the vacuum because it was disgusting because I was trying to vacuum the office. So I'm on my knees and I have my head down like by the front desk, and Corey turns a corner and almost runs into me, and she's like, God damn it, I almost ran into you. I was like, I was just waiting for you, sir. And I looked up at her and she was like, no, what are you doing? I just started laughing so hard.
I will tell you, you took me by surprise, but at first, like, I didn't register what you were doing. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what? And then I got it registered light bulb, and I was like, what the fuck, Tisha?
It was just like the perfect situation because I was in that stance that the praise kink has on your hands and knees.
Right.
Well, no, just on your knees with your head down.
Yeah.
Bowed down.
That would be more like a dominant submissive too.
Yeah.
With that. But yeah, I don't know.
It was hilarious.
You left me speechless. Let's just say that.
You're welcome.
Thank you. But I actually saw somebody else who posted in the Smut Hood on Facebook that they felt the same way about it in the book. They were like, did anybody else like get secondhand embarrassment from this? I'm like, I did.
There's somebody else out there.
Yeah, it definitely, I loved it.
Yes.
Like, goddamn loved it, but it was, yeah. So, this book is a contemporary romance with a forbidden love, an age gap, and I would also say taboo.
Like, meaning forbidden. It's just plain wrong or wrong in the right ways.
Yes, and there is some BDSM in this, as well as other specific sexual kinks.
Yes. So there aren't any triggers. There's no trigger warnings, and there's nothing that we spoke about it and tried to discuss and think if there was any triggers in this book. The only thing that we would say is just sensitive content. It has BDSM specific kinks, and it also does have some transgender issues in it.
Yes.
So if people not accepting transgender lifestyles and who they are as a person, if that's something that triggers you, this may have some triggering content in it. It's more of a sensitive content, I would say, but just so you guys are aware, there is some transgender, almost like shaming in it.
Yes, because of the father.
Yeah, because it's just like a father not accepting the daughter.
Yeah, which that broke my heart.
It did. So we'll get into that, but just so you guys know. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the synopsis. This fucking book, you guys, like, okay, so it starts off with our main character, Emerson. Mm-hmm. And he works an 8 to 5 with his friends. They go out and get drinks every night after work and just bitch and moan about how they hate it and they just want to do something else with their lives. And then they go to work the next day and the company claims bankruptcy and they all get laid off. And so they, at this point, his friends are saying like, okay, Tyler, oh my fucking God.
You're gonna
Emerson.
We need to get like a whiteboard in front of us that says
this is the book we're talking about.
Main characters list, so we don't.
Tyler was in Priest. I am talking about Emerson.
Oops. Rewind.
So Emerson, his friends always make fun of him because he has like these special kinks, and he is loud and proud about them in front of his friends. They're so open. There's the 4 friends. There's Emerson, and then there's Garrett, Hunter, and Maggie. Maggie's like the cool chick that comes along and doesn't judge them, but never like tells her sex stories. And then there's Garrett, who's pretty much like his best friend. That's the one that he talks to the most.
Yes, I loved Garrett.
I know, right? And then Hunter is married.
Yes.
So they always laugh at him about his kinks and how he is going to find a girl that's going to be down to do these kinks with him. And so that's when he sparks the idea, like, maybe I should create this like society almost like a Tinder app, but for like kinks, so where you can go
where it's accepting.
Yeah, where you won't be shamed and you can find somebody that's into the same shit as you.
Right. And I do want to say Emerson has the dominant submissive kink hard as fuck. And he does have the praise kink with the degradation kink. But the dominant submissive, like, I went into this book not realizing 90% of the books that I get off of TikTok, I don't look at what they're about. I just go into them if there's so many people doing it. So a lot of books take me by surprise, but this one really took me by surprise.
So good.
Yes.
So at this point is when Salacious Players Club gets created.
I'm glad you said it.
Yes. So then
I would butcher it.
So then it goes 7 years into the future.
Mm-hmm. And this is where we meet Charlotte. And Charlotte is in her 20s, early 20s, and Emerson's in his 40s, so just for context. And Charlotte was dating Beau, Emerson's son, and he was an absolute prick bastard.
Oh my God.
I fucking hated him.
He was an asshole. He cheated on her, and so she broke up with him because he was just treating her like shit.
Right.
And she goes to get her half of the
deposit.
down payment, the deposit that they put on their apartment. And he says, well, you didn't show up for the walkthrough, so they just sent the check to my dad's house.
Which he does not have a relationship with his dad at this point. And so he makes her go get it.
Yeah, he's like, so if you want it, you need to go get it. And she's like, why can't you go get it? He's like, I'm not going to talk to that piece of shit and blah, blah, blah. And so she's like, fine, give me his address. And Sophie's with her little sister.
Yep.
And so she gets the address, and Sophie's like, let's go. She's like, you're not coming with me. Like, sorry, you're not coming with me. So she goes and drops her off. So this is when...
Oh my God, this scene... I didn't know what I was getting into.
No.
And so walking into it, I was like, holy shit. So she shows up at his house, knocks on the door. Is Garrett there?
No. So Garrett is the one that's been trying to find Emerson love. He keeps sending girls to his house saying, okay, we'll try this one, because he wants to find somebody that will be okay with his kinks,
yes,
that he also kind of has a connection with.
Yeah.
And so Garrett's trying his hardest, and Emerson's just like, no, none of these girls are doing it for me.
Yeah, he needed that submissive assistant with him, and so they had been interviewing women to do this, and he hadn't found anybody. Well, Q and Charlotte. She shows up at his house, gets taken into his office, and she's doesn't know what the fuck is going on when she's there. She's just expecting him to walk in, give her the check, and move. And
the maid goes, you should probably get on your knees. It's better if you're on your knees, or something like that, or it's expected of you. And Charlie's like, what the fuck?
And then he comes in and he's like, dominates her to get her down, and she goes on her knees, and I'm just like, why would you do that? Like, why not just be like, I'm actually not here for whatever the fuck you're saying. Right. I just want my half of my deposit so I can get the fuck out of here because you've scared me now.
So he starts like almost kind of talking like down to her and kind of a little bit dirty, and she's like, why am I liking this? Because when you're young, you don't know your kinks. Yeah. I am 27 years old and probably still don't even know all of my kinks, but yeah. She's like almost too shocked to talk and tell him like, hey homie, like, I'm your son's ex-girlfriend.
Yes. He says something that snaps her. That's when she's like, I'm not here for whatever you're doing. I just want my check. So he feels embarrassed now because he was like, oh shit, that's my son's ex-girlfriend. Like, this is awkward.
And she tries to get him to pay her more.
Yes.
Just stay quiet.
Well, I might as well get him paid off and had a little experience with Emerson, get some money, walk away. But he gives her the check. She leaves.
For $5,000. Jesus Christ.
He wanted to buy that pussy. Okay, anyways. But he does like her. Like, she would have been the perfect candidate for him. Yeah. But now she's off limits. She's forbidden to him.
Yep.
So
as she goes home, the check, it has SPC on it. And she's like, what the fuck is SPC? So she starts Googling. The only thing that comes up is like a Sicilia pizza place or something like that. And so finally she Googles his name, and that's when she figures out what the Salacious Players Club is.
Isn't this also when she finds Madame Kink's blog? Yeah. And she's like, what in the hell am I reading?
She goes into the rabbit hole, figuring out what kind of kinks are out there, and she is online for hours until she eventually falls asleep.
Yep. So she goes to her job, which she
falls asleep and has a sex dream about Emerson.
Oh my God, I forgot all about that. Hey, I would too. I mean, if that man put me on my knees.
Yep.
Yeah. Now she's at her job, which she works at the roller skating rink, right? Okay. And he comes in and offers her a job, not as a submissive, though, as an actual secretary position.
Yes.
Yeah. And so she goes in, starts doing getting to know what she's doing, meets everybody, and they go to the club to see the construction of it working out. And this is where she meets Drake for the first time as well.
So before that, she does go to the mall to go shopping to buy new clothes and lingerie.
Oh, yeah.
For the new job, and she runs into Beau, and he's mad that she didn't get his half from
That's right.
his dad.
I'm going to just say, sorry, it's been a minute. I've read like 8 books since this. So
good. I've got all my notes here. So she shows up to her first day of work with a see-through shirt, a pencil skirt, and she starts kind of asking him, like, so what do you think my kink is? I was doing research into what you do. What do you think my kink is? And he, in his head, knows exactly what her kink is, but he doesn't want to tell her because it's like a forbidden thing. Like, he's like, I don't want to talk with her like that. So he's like, Garrett knows more about this stuff. You should ask him.
Yeah.
And then this is when they go to the club.
And this is where Drake kind of flirts with her at the beginning, and Emerson gets a little bit more protective.
Yep.
A little bit.
Yep.
And this is also the throne room.
Garrett takes her to the throne room.
Yes.
They're just showing her like the construction of everything, and there's a room with a giant throne in it, and he goes, go in and sit down. And she goes, no. And then she goes, well, why can't I? She's starting to like figure out that it's okay to try things. It's okay to be herself. She doesn't need to just be timid and shy. Like, it's okay to venture out. So she goes and sits in the throne while Garrett's standing in the doorway, and Emerson comes in.
Yeah, and he's like, oh God, he
got a little chirp happy in his pee-pee. Seeing her sitting there. It's like a lightning bolt hit the tip of my penis.
What the fuck is that?
Step Brothers, come on.
I need to go watch Step Brothers again. Jeez, what is he? Okay, we'll talk about that later. Okay, so
he tells her to at the same point that he doesn't want her to get involved in this stuff.
Yeah.
And he tells her to stay away from Drake because he will fuck literally anything and everything.
Yeah, I think at this point he just wanted to, 1, provide her with a better income, and 2, see if he can rebuild his relationship with his son, because Beau has written him off at this point because he knows what his dad's into, and he takes it in the wrong way, which a lot of people do when people have these sexual kinks that are not, quotations, the normal of everybody else's expectations.
He thinks he's a pervert.
Yeah, but
and he forces these women to do these things.
Sorry, your dad's not a rapist, because I would willingly let that man do whatever.
I would so get on my knees.
Yeah. For sure.
So this is when she picks up her sister after cashing the check after her first day of work, and they go to the little comic book store.
Oh, yeah.
And because the new anime comic came out that day, and her sister really, really wanted it. Her sister's name's Sophie, by the way. I don't think we've mentioned that. So she goes in and she's like, it's probably already sold out because it's like the middle of the day at this point. And they go in, it's sold out. So she's still in her sexy little outfit from work, and she walks up to the front. She's like, hold on just a second. And she's like, do you have any other copies of this? And he's like, no, we're out. And she's like, well, could you just like go check for me? And she's like totally flirting with him. And
she has a black bra on under it, right? And so she's like squishing him up.
Yeah, squishing her boobies up. And so he goes to the back room and he comes back out and he has one in his hand, and he's like, don't tell anybody you got this from me. And this is when her sister goes, she's like, you're a hooker, but I'm not complaining. And she's like, I am not. She's like, well, just keep dressing like one.
It gives you perks. It totally does. And this kind of is where it shows like their relationship with their mom as well. We know at this point Dad's not in the picture.
Yeah.
We just know he couldn't deal with change. That's all we know at this point.
Yeah.
Mom's a ER nurse, night shift ER nurse, and they go to Taco Tuesday. They get some margaritas, and they just have a cute family dynamic.
Yeah,
you know,
it's so cute.
I loved that. I loved that they had a closeness and a real raw family dynamic. You know, and that did it for me. I was just like, okay, I love so this. Cute. Yes. So
at this point, they're kind of like, she's still working for Emerson, and their talk is getting almost like borderline inappropriate.
Yeah, 100%.
But they're both like kind of like, oh my god, this is my ex-boyfriend's dad. Oh my god, this is my son's ex-girlfriend, you know? But like, it's like, so what kind of kinks are you into? Or she even asks him, did I do a good job as on my knees or whatever as a submissive? And he's like, you looked exquisite or something like that. And she can feel herself starting to like get turned on from the praise. Yes. And so this is when you're kind of like, oh, she does have a praise kink, you know? And
what up with that, man? Yes. Okay. So that's where that... Sorry, I'm reading my notes.
You're good. There's the opening night for the club is coming up.
Okay.
And so this is when he asks her to be his date.
Oh my good God.
And he gives her his credit card to go shopping.
Yes.
To pick out a dress.
And she helps him pick out the color of his suit. So they coordinate. And they go to the club. This part was unbelievable to me and how much it turned me on.
Same.
So the thing with the club is some of the rooms have little windows to where you can... If you're in the room, you can allow an audience in a hallway. The hallway is dark lit, so nobody, you can't see in, and they, like, if you're in the hallway, you can't really see each other either, unless you're kind of within that close proximity. Well, Emerson didn't want her
to go down the hallway.
Yeah. Well, Charlotte's gonna go down the fucking hallway.
Fuck you.
So she lies to the guard, or the, what is he called? What, a guard?
Yeah, like a bodyguard, yeah.
Bodyguard.
Security, yeah.
Security, that's the fucking word. And she finds a window, and I believe it's Garrett in the room, right?
I don't remember who's in the room, but I do remember it's like a threesome or something like that.
Yeah, and 2 girls, 1 dude. Well, Emerson shows up behind her and they start getting hot and heavy in it, and he gets her off with her own hand.
Yeah, he's like, touch yourself, and so he guides her hand down.
Yeah.
And holy fucking shit.
I was kind of in awe because I was just like, if I was in that position and that was me, I would just be like, I would have to have probably some liquid courage to be okay with this. But holy shit.
It was so hot. And it wasn't even, like, why is it, I swear, the past few books that we've been reading, the chirping happens even before the penetration does.
I love it.
It's just like these little scenes, but I'm just like, why am I squirming?
But it shows you how fun, it gives you ideas for your real life. Like, okay, I could do that, and that could turn me, that could be a really hot turn on. And like a publication, like a public kink, like, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
That could be a real thing.
Like I said, this book opened a whole new world to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard all about it.
Poor Corey. There is no filter between us. She knows everything and anything.
Yeah. I think we've crossed the line of there's no comfort zone with us. We just, no, not a comfort zone. There's no boundaries. We just fucking say it like it is.
Point of no return.
And sometimes we still shock the shit out of each other. So, anyways.
So
okay.
they start having sexual tension. Because they're both
hard. Yes, and then she walks to get him lunch in her heels. And he was rubbing her feet. And this is when they kiss for the first time, but it's interrupted.
Yes.
By Beau.
Was it Beau? Oh, yeah, because he calls her. And
this is when Emerson backs off again because he's like, I can't do this. This is my son's girlfriend.
She was, like, giving him like a foot job.
Oh my God, yes! Yes, she was, her feet were in his lap, and it was just like,
she was filling his pee-pee with her toes.
I love that you say pee-pee.
Okay, so then after that, they have a business meeting at the club. And they're having a girl come in to show them like different kinds of sex toys that they can use at the club in each room. And so the girl who brought it, I can't remember her name. I think it was like Melissa or something like that. But she's not a big part of the book, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But she gets all flirty with Emerson and is kind of like, oh, well, I want you to give me a tour of the club because someone else offers to do it. And this is when Charlie starts getting like kind of jealous, and she's like, fuck him, like he's gonna go in the back and fuck her. Like she's starting to get like possessive of him.
100%.
And so he goes to give her the tour, and while they're doing the tour, Drake and Garrett are talking, and Drake says, Charlie, come here, I have a question for you. And she goes over, and he's like, I can't remember exactly, but he said something like, do you think you could wear this
in public without
like reacting? And she's like, I don't know, probably. And he's like, go try it on and tell me and show me. And she's just like, I can't say no, like I can't turn down a challenge.
Because did he dare her? I think he did. And that's when that's what hooked her.
So she goes in the back and puts it in.
Oh my God.
And he's fucking with her, and so she's squealing basically, and Emerson walks in and is like, what the hell is going on here? And she's like, I'm so sorry, I'll go take it out. He's like, nope. And he gets the remote from Drake, and he's like, let's go to lunch. Yep.
And then they go to lunch, and he does the punishment because she did him wrong. And at this point, they agreed he would teach her some submissive without
the sexual relationship.
So when they're at lunch, he's fucking with her hard and penetrating. Oh my God, punishing her for flirting with Drake and makes her admit that, and then gets her off.
Yeah,
in the restaurant.
Yeah,
and I was like, I kind of want a vibrating toy right now. Like, let's go.
I totally bought one.
I know they're on your kitchen table right now. Out and
they
about,
haven't been used yet. It's fine.
It's okay. We can't see them. They're in a bag. And so then they go back. She puts it in the desk.
We're gonna pause.
Okay. I'm like, I wasn't watching.
You're good.
And then after that,
hang on.
I know. I'm asking a question. Bo tries to get back work there after this.
Yeah, or Emerson kind of pushes it.
Yeah, because he doesn't want to cross that line.
Yeah.
Okay. Ooh, there's
she confronts him about it, and that's the first time they
2, 3.
Okay, so at this point, Emerson kind of tries to get her and Bo back together because he's realizing everything that they're doing is not okay. He wants a relationship with his son. And so Bo shows up at his house and he's like, why don't you guys go get lunch together? You know, like trying to push it. And Charlie's like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
It's rubbing her the wrong way. Like, you're giving mixed signals at this point.
And she doesn't want to be with Bo. Like, she doesn't.
She's realized she's better than that and she deserves more than that. And she wants Emerson.
Yeah.
And they go back to her house and they were going to order pizza, and he kind of belittles her for working with his dad, and it's just a straight up dickhole about it, and it's just like, fuck you. And she tells him off, like, they're never going to get back together, like, that's that. And she drives him home. And Sophie, her little sister, was pissed.
Oh, yeah.
That she had brought her back to the house because she watched her sister go from being unhappy to so happy to him trying to come back into her life. And she just was like, no, I don't want to see that. She was disappointed is the best way to say that. For sure.
So on her way home, she's like, I'm going home. She's like, no, fuck that. I'm going to confront Emerson. And so she shows up at his house, knocks on his door, and just reams his ass. She's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, I don't want to be with Bo. Why would you do that? Are you using me? And tensions get high, and
the first sex scene,
they release it.
Oh my good God. This scene to me was wow. I mean, obviously we're dealing with a lot of pent up sexual tension throughout this entire book. The first sex scene happens and you're just like, mouth drop open, drool hanging out, might need a towel for downstairs, but it was hot. Like,
it was so hot.
Damn.
So she starts like, I guess both of them start like having more of like a mutual feeling. It's not just sexual attraction. Like, they genuinely have a connection. Yeah. And so at this point, it's Sophie's birthday. I think it's her 16th birthday.
I think so too.
And they're having it at the roller skating rink.
Yes.
And he texts her. He's like, what are you doing? Can you come over? And she's like, I can't. It's my sister's birthday party. He's like, oh, today? She's like, yeah. And then crickets.
And then he shows up.
Oh,
he shows up
for Sophie.
Yes, and her mom, like, she's freaking out because they need to keep their relationship under wraps because they really don't want anybody to know, Bo especially, because that's going to create a reaction that they don't need.
Yeah, and her family doesn't even know that it's Bo's dad that she's working for.
No. And so he gets introduced to the family. He gives Sophie her present, which was tickets to like a
anime con, something like that. Yeah.
And it was just
VIP tickets, may I say.
And it was so fucking cute. And then the mom's like, are you gonna come have movie night with us? So he goes and has a movie night with her family. And Charlotte lives in their pool house. She doesn't actually stay in the house with her mom and her sister. She lives in the back. So she has her own little area. So after movie night, they go into the pool house, and this is where we also learn about Sophie. There's a family picture from Disneyland, and he asks who that is, and it's a little boy. And she goes, that's Sophie, and explains that Sophie has changed the gender to what is more fitting to her and became Sophie, and that is also what has caused their father to leave. Is he couldn't handle the change. He
didn't understand it.
He didn't accept it.
Yeah.
And that was really sad because a lot of people in our world experience the hate from a parent like that, and I can
in general.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Very.
And the fact that her own father left because he couldn't handle the change in Sophie, she became so overprotective of Sophie.
Yeah.
So she was really scared to tell Emerson about this because she was like, if he says anything, I'm gonna fuck this motherfucker up. Like, that is my baby sister. You do not fuck with her. And he was just like, oh, okay, like, so understanding. Like,
it was so cute.
like, he is just such a good guy.
100%. Like, if age gap book boyfriend, I would take Emerson in real life. 100%.
And torn between him and Pike, but
yeah, agreed. So they end up having a nice night in the pool house of fucking, and all of their sex scenes are so good. Like, you just can't hate them.
Right.
And from there is when they just kind of start to build their dominant submissive relationship, but it's become the sexual side of it.
Yeah, and it's very possessive too. So
yeah.
His club he's found all the loopholes to make it a legal sex club. They are allowed to do what they want because it's not a space for prostitution. There's no paying or buying. People are just there to have fun.
Yeah.
And so they're doing like a charity raising event, like an auction, and it's not like selling sex or anything. These girls are coming in willingly to raise money for whatever thing that I can't remember, donate it to, whatever charity they donate it to, but they just want to have a good time. Like, they're there to have a good time. They know it's a sex club and they are okay with this, so it's nothing illegal. But he has I think he had like a dozen girls, and a couple of them couldn't come, so he was only down to like 6 or 7 girls. So then he tells Charlie, okay, you're doing it, and she's like, huh?
The reason, though, he did this is because she doesn't see herself in the high regards that he does, or anybody else does. She doesn't see herself as beautiful or sexy or anything like that. She just doesn't. That's ultimately, he was like, I'm sick of this shit. I'm going to punish you. Your ass is going up there and you're getting auctioned the fuck off.
Yep. And she's like, nobody's going to bid for me. Like, this is going to be so embarrassing. And she makes the most of the night. I think it was $75,000.
Yep.
Because it was Emerson and some other guy bidding back and forth. Yes. Emerson's like, obviously, I'm not going to let anybody else win her. Like, I'm not stupid.
Because I think it was like an hour of their time. Yeah. So he wins, and he takes her into one of the club rooms.
Oh, yeah.
Blindfolds her, ties her up, and it gets fucking kinky.
They start doing, like, sensory kinks. Like nipple clamps, hot wax.
Oh, my God, that scene to me was just like, you touch on some of these subjects in 50 Shades. Mind you, I think when we both read it, that was probably 10 years ago.
Yeah, at least.
And we obviously have a way different understanding of kinks now, and this didn't topped it. Like, I thought that was hot, and now I'm like, this is wow.
But this is like a form of punishment for her too. Like, he's saying, okay, so you think these things about yourself, but did you see how many people bid for you when you were up there? He's like, do you understand how amazing and perfect you are? All while he's like punishing her. So he gives her a safe word. I think it was mercy.
Something like that.
And so he tells her, like, if anything I do, if you say that word, I'll stop immediately. But he's trying to get it through her head, like, how perfect she is and how beautiful and kind. And he's like, I hate that you don't see yourself that way. So he's punishing her for it.
But in sex.
But it was so sexy and so kind of cute. Is that weird to say?
No, because I felt the same way. Like, it was like a heart-touching moment.
Yeah.
But my heart might have been in my vagina at that time, because it was like one of those moments where I was like, which side am I going with? Fuck it. Your guys are confined
just
right now.
Clash together.
My heart's thumping, so is my clit right now. So we're good. We're good. Yeah, this scene definitely did it for me.
Oh, it was so good. So they're really, like, kind of in a relationship at this point. Like, it's not being said.
Right.
But they're fucking all the time. They're going on dates. They're just so emotionally involved. And there's one day at work, they decide to use the toy again that Drake made her put in.
Yes.
And he's like, let's go to lunch. And I remember a scene from the book. It says they went to a turkey sandwich shop or something like that, and she was ordering a turkey sandwich, and she's like, with Emerson's hard cock pressed up into the small of my back, on the verge of orgasm or having an orgasm while I'm saying the word mayonnaise.
Could you imagine how embarrassing that
She's
would
like, mayonnaise.
The fact that you just fucking did that epic Epic, man. Epic. Yeah, so they do that, and they had walked from the deli from his house. So they're walking back. He puts his keys and the remote on the side table, but there's a knock on the door, and it's Beau. And Beau was like, oh, I just saw Charlotte's car outside. I wanted to stop by. Well, things get a little awkward for a minute, and they have a beer, they talk, they chit-chat, and then Beau's like, okay, well, I'll stop by next time or something. And he picks up his keys, but he also picks up the fucking remote. And my heart was beating so bad in this scene. Yeah. I think I've had a panic attack. Yeah. Because I was like, oh, fuck, oh, fuck, oh, fuck, oh, fuck.
And Emerson tries to grab the remote from him. He's like, oh, that's not your keys. And then he accidentally drops it, and it makes it go off. And Charlotte does, like, this squeal. And Beau looks at the remote and looks at Charlie and is like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
And that's when it all comes out.
Yeah, and so Beau's pissed off at his dad because he obviously is in the mix with his ex-girlfriend now. But he's upset because he thinks his dad corrupted her.
He thinks that he forced her, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so she goes, takes the toys out, cleans up her shit, packs her shit, and is leaving. And Emerson had told Beau that it's nothing, and that hurt Charlotte's feelings. Mm-hmm. So she's packing her shit and gets the fuck out of there because now she's pissed.
She's like, I'm not nothing.
Yeah, and so Emerson's trying to get her to stop, but she leaves. Mm-hmm. And she has every right to.
Absolutely. I agree completely. Mm-hmm. So about 2 weeks pass, and she hasn't talked to him. She hasn't returned his phone calls. She's down in the dumps. What did she say? Tacos and margaritas heal everything. Yes. Or heal the broken heart or something like that.
Yes.
And so she's just moping, and Sophie's trying to help her make her feel better. And she has a best friend that she's confiding in as well. And she goes, what the fuck am I doing? I have a membership to one of the highest sex clubs in the city. Why am I sitting here?
Before that, though, Beau talked to Emerson.
Oh, right, yep.
And Emerson and him kind of tried to have a heart-to-heart, and Beau was pissed and was like, you forced her. And he was like, no. And set Beau straight. I didn't force her. She wanted it. It was all consensual. And Beau asked him, do you love her? And he's like, it doesn't matter. If you tell me you don't want me to see her, I'm not going to see her. Mm-hmm. And Beau is a fucking prick and goes, of course I don't want you to see her. So that's when that happened. Beau also had a confrontation with Charlie at this point about it. And Charlie got pissed because he was also degrading her because of this kink. And he was like going off about it. Like, did he force you, or you're just sick like him? And it was just wrong. Like, you don't degrade somebody because of their kinks. Yeah. And so she left.
No kink shaming.
None. This is when she goes to the club now.
Yes. So she gets all fucking dolled up, and she's like, bitches, I'm gonna have me a good ass night. And then #anxiety comes in, and she's like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Oh my gosh, what if he's there? What if I have to see him? So she gets to the club, and she's like, I don't belong here. Like, nobody's gonna even talk to me. Like, I'm gonna know nobody. And she goes in, and people recognize her.
Yeah.
And start talking to her and having a drink with her. And Madam Kink comes up and starts talking to her. And she's like, I've known Emerson for a long time, and I've never seen him act the way he does with you.
Yeah.
She's like, so let's make this motherfucker jealous. She's like, he's here tonight.
Yes, I love this. I love all of this.
She's like, let's make him jealous. So her and Madam Kink, what's her real name? Eden?
Eden. Yep.
They go into the throne room.
Oh my God. And switches to Emerson's point of view at this point. And Garrett's also there watching, and he looks through the window, and Eden has, or Madam Kink has, Charlotte pushed up against the wall and is kissing her and starts to take her clothes off and starts rubbing up on that shit.
Oh, yeah.
And Emerson breaks in that damn room real quick.
He's like, not having
hell
it. No.
Fuck you. You're not going to do this. Yeah.
She makes him get on his knees and beg for forgiveness. And they have some fun times in front of that window that they do not close. So there's a full fucking audience.
Which, if that's your kink, teach their own. To me, sex is not. So I felt a little awkward reading that because I'm like, how could you be so into it knowing there's however many people watching you?
Sometimes people get turned on by that shit.
Yeah, and if that's what you get turned on for, go for it, man. Yeah. It just made me awkward reading that in the book. Like, okay. So he tries to get back with her, and she says no.
Yeah.
It's not enough, and leaves. She leaves that man with some blue balls, and I fucking loved it. I was like,
But she got up, don't worry.
Oh, yeah. The queen never has blue clip. No. She,
No lip clit.
no. So she goes home, and this is when her dad shows up.
Yes, so Bo decides to meet up with Emerson to talk.
Yes.
And they're in the car together. They're going to go get lunch or something. And Charlotte's at her house, in her pool house, and her dad shows up, and he's pissed.
I also think this was like after midnight.
Yeah, it was later, I think.
Like 1 a.m, I kind of think.
No, because they were driving to go get dinner or lunch.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong. I'm like, I thought it was later in the night. It was an evening. Okay, we'll just go with that.
It's during some time in the day or night or
I'm like,
in a 24-hour period.
And we're the shit shows again.
So he says that he has a coworker that was at the auction and saw Charlie being auctioned off at this, he calls it like a sex trading place or something like that. And it's illegal. And
I don't know.
he knows about her and Emerson, and he's like, do you know how much older he is than you? And then he looks at this point, Sophie and her mom come outside, and Charlie's like, Sophie, get inside right now, because she knows her dad's unhinged right now, and anything he says, he doesn't give a shit. He'll offend anybody and everybody.
He's gonna attack who's there, for sure, 100%.
Yep. So when Sophie goes inside, she calls Emerson and says, I need you to come over.
Yes.
And at this point, he's like, did you know that she was in a relationship with this old man? Old man. Come on.
I still fuck that old man.
And her mom's like, yes, I did. And at this point, Charlie's like, holy shit, you knew? She's like, yeah, I haven't seen you this happy in a long time, and I don't give a shit how old he is, as long as he treats you right, you know?
Yeah.
And her mom is just, oh my gosh.
I love her mom in this scene.
God bless her soul. She is just the sweetest thing ever. She is there for her kids no matter what.
100%.
And it's amazing.
And I hate the dad. Like, the dad got so pissed, he pushed the mom, and I was so mad. I was like, get your fucking hands off of her.
Charlie snapped.
Oh, yeah, hard. And I was like, get it. But at this point, Emerson had showed up.
Yep.
After all this.
With Bo.
Yeah. Bo stayed in the car at first, didn't he? Or around, like, back a little bit.
I think he did stay back, yeah. You're right.
And then he came up and was trying to be like, you need to leave. You can't be here. You're talking to your daughter wrong. You can talk to me all you want like this, but not them. But the dad was spewing words like they do. Well, the dad said something that was fucked up, and that's when Bo came in and punched him. And I was like, you redeemed yourself, motherfucker.
He's like, you don't talk to my dad like that.
I was like, oh, son, you know? Yeah, no, that was a good scene. And then the dad finally leaves, and Emerson and Charlie just make up, and they just...
Bo's okay with it.
Yes. And... oh, it was so cute. And then they say the I love yous to each other.
Yeah.
And then they end up happily together.
And it's so amazing.
My favorite was when they went to Taco Tuesday at the very end, and Bo shows up too, and it's like a whole family affair. I'm like,
it's
how
like
awkward
an awkward family dynamic.
Dad and son both have fucked the same chick. Check. You know?
But it was, I remember her saying it, she was like, I thought this was going to be awkward, but it was just like, almost like serene. Like, it was calm, and it was just, it felt right.
Yeah,
and
obviously.
The fact that Bo could man up and be big enough to be like, okay, I fucked up, and obviously they are in love, and he gave his blessing, like, that was leaps and bounds between who he was in the beginning of the book.
100%. He had to grow as a person and as a character. He had to realize that he wasn't in the right for what he was doing by kink shaming, by not trying to even just understand a kink, because you frown upon what you don't know. And it's really wrong to do that. It shouldn't have been shamed like that.
No.
But I loved it. This book just took me by surprise. Like, I was really in awe of it.
Me too. It was way better than I was expecting it to be.
Agreed. I went into it, like I said, I didn't know what it was about. I just kind of was like, okay, let's just go into it. It's going to be a sexy book. That's all I've heard. I'm down with some sex. Let's go. Oh my God. It took the kinks in this book that they talked about. And I'm ready to read everybody else's books, because who knows what kind of kinks are going to be out.
Yep. So the second book was just released 2 days ago.
Yeah.
I think it was 2 days ago.
think so.
And neither of us have had the time to sit down and read it yet. This bitch needs to get through Hades first. She's almost there.
I'm almost there, guys. I'm on the last book, and then I have the novella, and then I'm done. And then I can read it. We can go.
Yes. So that's probably going to be our next read here.
Yeah. And that one's going to touch on Garrett's story.
Yes. And there are trigger warnings in this one. So we will have to discuss those when we do cover that book.
Yes. All right. Let's talk about it. Let's get into it. Who was your favorite character?
Emerson. I know it's so cliche to say the main character, but come on.
I agree with you. No, I'm totally on your page. I dare say, though, Emerson was my favorite, but Garrett was up there.
Yeah.
Garrett was up there. I love Charlie, but she downright made me feel awkward. When she went in after starting to work with him and got on her hands and knees and was like just being a submissive just because she wanted to do it.
Yeah.
I had to stop reading right there. It made me so embarrassed and uncomfortable for a minute. Like, I was just like, oh my God. And I typically don't get that way. You know, like, we talk about this. I don't have problems with books, but for whatever reason, this book just made me like a teenage girl reading a penetration scene for my first time, and that was bad. That was, I don't even know how to explain it. Yeah.
I do. So, I don't know what it is, but when Emerson tells her good girl, it does something to me.
You, I think, definitely have a praise kink.
Yeah, it's not the getting on the knees and the patting of the head. Like, that's not my thing. But the good girl and, like, the punishment when you don't listen, I'm like, okay, that's interesting.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that for sure. I don't know. That makes you want to try new stuff. Like,
it does.
It brings out that kinky side in you, the kinky fuckery. Like, what are we going to get into now?
Yes.
Yes, I think this book can open your eyes to the kinks if you're open to it. If you're not open to it, you're going to be closed off and you're just going to say, I don't want to fucking read that. But if you're open to some kinks, go for it.
Which I feel like most smut readers are.
Yes, I would agree. I saw, this is off topic kind of, but I saw, you know how on Facebook you get like ads for new books? It was like some sort of book that had a lot of kinks in it, like I think like a breeder kink and like a praise kink and stuff, and a lady commented and it was against the kinks, and I was just like, oh shit. Like, I had to read the comments to see, and people were not attacking her but putting her in her place, because they're like, don't you disregard don't degrade somebody because of their kinks, don't be a dick. And I was just like, get her. Yeah, it was pretty good.
We don't degrade your vanilla kink, so
exactly. You like it just missionary, you fuck like that, that's fine. Teach their own. It's your bedroom.
Let us do what we want. I kind of want to go back and count how many times we say the word kink in this episode.
Probably a lot.
Kink.
Kinky bitch. No, I think a lot.
Yeah.
But I think it's because that's what surrounds it.
It is, yeah.
And I think that's something like I want to know from like our readers and who have
our readers,
our readers, okay. listeners. Jesus, oh my fucking brain, you guys! Welcome to my life. Thanks for the correction. I would like to know if this book has opened that side and helped you find your kinks.
Yeah,
because obviously we know how it's done, what it's done for us. But I want to know. Like,
yeah, tell us. Tell us.
Who? Okay, your smuttiest scene.
Dude, I am going to have to say the hall scene. The hall of the club when she first, or the opening night.
I agree.
It was so hot.
I know. And there was no dick in vagina.
Literally didn't even touch her. It was all her touching herself.
I think it was just the way she created the tension between them, and the surroundings they were in was amazing. But I also have to say the hot wax with the nipple clamps, dude.
Yeah.
That got me. I would say it's a toss between those two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did like that one too, because it wasn't just, I mean, it was hot fucking sex, but that was when he was trying to like make her love herself as well. So it was like cutesy and kinky.
Yep. Alrighty. Chirp level out of 5 being the highest.
Solid 5.
I agreed. Solid 5 there.
Solid 5.
I don't think you could even notch it down even just a little.
Nope.
I think you could go higher, like a 10 now with this one.
Oh, yeah.
And would you recommend this book to everybody?
Fuck yes. Go read it.
What she said. I'm just gonna, there's no words besides what she just said for that.
So good. So good.
That was like, I think it has a new special spot in my kinkiest books that I've read.
It was so good. Yes. It was not even just like the smut, but like the storyline. It was all good. It was really well done.
Very well. I want to read more of her books.
I do too.
I think she's going to be one of the top authors, kind of like how we felt with like Ashley Jade and other authors like that, where, they're going to be good. I've seen some other ones. I'm like, okay, let's get to reading. Except for I need to finish what I'm in. Okay.
Yes.
Anyways, guys, so we're going to close out today's episode and go from there. We are releasing our episodes bi-weekly. We'll keep you updated for upcoming episodes on our Instagram and TikTok. So give us a follow at SmutSluts.BookPodcast. Next time we will be reviewing The Cat and Mouse Duet by H.D. Carlton. This episode will be our next 2 episodes. So if you're going to read these books before our podcast, please check the trigger warnings on these books. They are severe.
Yes, they are very severe. So make sure to check those if you want to read it before the episode releases. Also, we do have a YouTube channel if you want to watch us interact while we record our episode. You can subscribe to our channel at SmutSluts.BookPodcast. No spacing in it.
Alrighty, and thank you guys so much for listening.
Keep it kinky, Smut Sluts.
We'll see you next time.
Smut Sluts.